Good afternoon. Today I'm going to be reviewing the Englemaan Wraith. This watch is available from englemaan.com for $270 which is €230 respectively. So firstly, let's look at the leather watch roll that the watch comes in, and then I'll talk you through the specifications of the piece. So the watch comes in a genuine leather watch roll which is housed inside this outer black cardboard box. The lid to the box is branded with the Englemaan text logo in white. So one removes the lid, which is a snug fit to the base. Good attention to detail because we have two holes, one for the index finger, one for the thumb. That makes it easy to withdraw this block of foam which has a cutout, and it fits around the watch roll, which is a snug fit inside. In the base we have a second block of foam with a cutout, and the genuine leather watch roll fits inside it. It's a snug fit. Now, I want to give due credit to Englemaan here because they could have taken the less expensive default option of just using a plastic or cardboard watch box, bearing in mind this is a low tier price point piece at only €230. This is made from genuine leather, which is like calf leather rather than PU leather or vinyl, and it has a gorgeous scent to it. Good attention to detail because we have the Englemaan text logo embossed on the top flap. Flawless stitching around the perimeter in contrasting brown. No loose stitches, the stitches are very well done. Nice matte sheen to the calf leather. Gorgeous scent to it. Two stainless steel poppers securing the flap. And the inside is fully upholstered with contrasting chocolate brown velour fabric to a good standard. And also flawless stitching around the perimeter on the inside with brown stitching. Very well presented, very well made. Two stainless steel poppers either side of the flanks of the padded pillow cushion, and they snap together with nice positive clicks. This is a good quality genuine leather watch roll, and I'm very pleased to see they didn't use the production cost cutting measure of vinyl or PU leather. Excellent. Immediately one gets the impression that this Englemaan Wraith is a high quality piece. This is an example to other mid-tier brands and low-tier brands of how to get presentation correct at €230. This is excellent. With regards to items that come with the piece, it also comes with this Englemaan branded gift bag should you wish to gift this to a fellow collector. Again, this is excellent presentation. And lastly, one also gets this booklet, which is the quick start guide for PT5000 movement models. So effectively this is the owner's instruction manual and also details the terms and conditions of the 12-month international warranty. So it's in the form of a book and you can fold it out like a leaflet. Clear, concise diagrams. The instructions are in English and it details the operation of the movement used, which is the HK Precision Technology Caliber PT5000 Automatic. Even details instructions on how to resize the bracelet, which has screw pins, and also details the anti-magnetic properties, the anti-scratch properties of the piece, which I'll detail, and general operating instructions, as well as maintenance, and also after-sales service and warranty terms and conditions through the 12-month warranty. And also has a warranty card included, and I'm pleased to see they've actually filled it in with a model number, which is the reference number for the piece, and the date of purchase. And on the last page, we have an Englemaan branded microfiber polishing cloth. I always think it's a nice touch to get a branded microfiber polishing cloth, irrespective of the price point of a piece. And on the last page, we have a foam cutout panel, which houses an Englemaan branded stainless steel spring bar tool. Two-prong fork at one end, push pin at the other end, as one would expect. Nice to see a branded branded spring bar tool. This is made from stainless steel throughout, versus being mild steel, which is nickel plated. It is excellent quality. This is excellent presentation, and I want to give due credit. This is an example to other low-tier brands and low-tier micro brands between €0 and €500 of how to get presentation correct. This is the perfect owner's instruction manual with warranty card, with with microfiber polishing cloth, with spring bar tool included, and it's clear and concise. They've done it correctly. So, with regards to the specifications of the piece, the Englemaan Wraith is available in two versions, with blue or green lume respectively. This is the blue BGW9 version, but they also offer it with the green C3 version, and as an alternative to the H-Link bracelet, they also offer it on a Velcro strap. And also, if you want to reduce the purchase price, they offer it with basic packaging, alternatively this, which is the upgraded packaging with genuine leather watch roll. I highly recommend you opt for the latter because this genuine leather watch roll I showed you is outstanding quality. So this piece of the Wraith is an homage to the Sinn 857. I have previously reviewed the Sinn 856, which the 857 is based upon. It is the successor of it. So I'll clarify what the difference is. The 857 and 856 have the same large Arabic numerals because they are intended to be pilot watches despite looking like a dive watch with this dive watch bezel. So the 856 I reviewed has a smooth bezel and the 857 has a 120 click unidirectional bezel like this one, and rather like a dive bezel, but they have the same dial and the same H-link bracelets and same cases. So this one is an homage to the Sinn 857 and therefore very similar proportions. We have a 40.3mm case diameter. We have a lug-to-lug measurement of 48mm, a thickness of 12.3mm and a lug width of 20mm. The H-link bracelet tapers from 20mm at the lugs down to 18mm at the 2-button push micro adjustment clasp. 2-button push clasp is signed with high definition engraving with the Englemaan Text logo. I like the fonts used and I like it's not oversized. It's large enough to be clearly legible, but it's not oversized and therefore it looks nice and clean. 2-button push triggers are matte B-blasted effect, and I really like the proportions of the micro adjustment clasp, 10mm on the fly adjustment with a ratcheting internal mechanism. Now, this piece is entirely made from hardened 316L grade stainless steel. So to clarify, the bezel, the head of the piece, the case back, the bracelet and the clasp are entirely made from hardened 316L grade stainless steel, and the hardened stainless steel they're using has a hardness rating of 1000 HV. HV stands for hardness Vickers. So to put this into perspective, what does 1000 HV mean? What does 1000 hardness Vickers actually mean? Standard 316L grade stainless steel typically has a hardness rating of 600 HV. This has a hardness rating of 1000 HV. The benefit of that is it makes it harder and more scratch resistant. So for example, with daily wear and tear, on the bracelet and the clasp, areas that are prone to being scuffed and scratches, 1000 HV is far more scratch resistant than 600 HV, which is the standard for 316L grade. This is beneficial, and I want to give due credit to Englemaan here because it's very unusual to see hardened 316L grade stainless steel with 1000 HV hardness rating used at this price point, only €230. The piece is also anti-magnetic to 1000 Gauss as per the Sinn 857, which this is an homage to. That's also highly anti-magnetic because its intended purpose is a pilot's watch versus a dive piece. So excellent to see that. Anti-magnetic to 1000 Gauss, also hardness rating of 1000 HV, hardness Vickers. We have a flat sapphire crystal with clear AR coating, and the clear anti-reflective coating does an outstanding job of reducing the glare and the highly reflective nature of the flat sapphire crystal. Black handset has sword profiles to the hour hand and the minute hand as per a Flieger piece or a pilot's watch, and the handset proportion does look very similar to the Sinn 857, which this is an homage to. It's got that classic Flieger or pilot proportions to the hands. The legibility is excellent, fully loomed pointed second hand, and again proportions are correct. The tip of the second hand, which is loomed with BGW9, extends all the way to the white minute ticks on the chaptering. Also the tip of the sword minutes hand extends all the way to the printed indices and also the minute ticks. So the proportion of the handset is correct. 12, 9, 6 and 3 have the exact same font as the Sinn 857, which this is an homage to. Legibility is good. So although visually it does look rather like a dive piece due to the 60 minute ticks on the bezel and the 10, 20, 30, 40 and 50 Arabic numerals, it is actually meant to be a pilot's watch as per the Sinn 857. So it looks identical with the bezel markings and the dial markings. Matte black dial is good. They've made the correct decision as per the Sinn 857. Rather than having a glossy enamel black dial, which would be shiny and reflective and therefore diminish the legibility and functionality of the piece, it's got a matte black dial, so that reduces the reflection and the glare, which is good. Legibility is enhanced. And rather than using a sunray black dial, it also enhances the legibility. I like the dial isn't over-branded with unnecessary text or specification. It's clean and minimalist, rather like a Bauhaus style design. It really is rather like the Sinn 857, which simply has the Sinn logo at 12. Either side of the 6 o'clock Arabic numeral, we simply have made by Englemaan as opposed to made in Germany, for example, and it's good. Same cursive font used for Englemaan as on the logo, on the clasp, and it's good. Now, subjectively, one could say, well, they should have printed Englemaan on the dial at 12 o'clock, but then some collectors would argue that they prefer the clean look, rather like a Sinn look, which is like Bauhaus, and the Flieger look of not having branding on the dial. It does look minimalist, it does look clean, and I think it's acceptable to have made by Englemaan at 6 rather than having Englemaan's text logo printed on the dial at 12. But this comes down to, it's subjective, whether you prefer the branding or you prefer the clean look of a minimalist dial. Day complication is cited at 4 o'clock. Legibility is good. Black data wheel with white Arabic numerals. The single and the double Arabic numerals are large enough to be easy to read. Alignment is correct. Both the single and the double Arabic numerals align correctly in the date window. They're not too far to the left or right. And they've made the correct decision by not using the default option of a white data wheel with black Arabic numerals, because that would clash with the matte black dial. Black data wheel blends with the dial, but the white Arabic numerals contrast very well. There's a very subtle emblem which is printed on the dial at 6, and it's very difficult to see. This denotes that it is anti-magnetic, and of course, as I've detailed, this is anti-magnetic to 1000 Gauss, which is very impressive. Very rare to see an anti-magnetic piece with 1000 Gauss magnetic resistance at only €230. That's the kind of specification one expects to see with a mid-tier piece between €500 and €5,000 respectively. Excellent. So they're right to print the anti-magnetic emblem on the dial to denote this. The bezel is solid 316L grade stainless steel, and as I've detailed, the bezel is hardened 316L grade stainless steel to 1000 HV, and it's scalloped, as you can see, and visually it does look the same profile with the same scalloping as the Sinn 857, which this is an homage to. Low profile bezel, but the scalloping is grippy and tactile without being sharp. The bezel insert is made from ceramic, which is engraved and fully lumed with BGW9. So to remind you, this Englemaan Wraith is available in two versions, either with blue BGW9 or alternatively green C3. This is the blue BGW9 version. Now, I highly recommend the blue version you're looking at, because the reason why I say that, this blue BGW9 version, in daylight, on the bezel, the dial and the hands, it looks white, and that looks very aesthetically pleasing. There's a good colour tone match. The green version, which uses C3 respectively on the bezel, the dial and the hands, looks more green in daylight, as one would expect. I think this is more aesthetically pleasing. The white tone on the minute ticks on the bezel, the chapter ring, the Arabic numerals and the handset all look very good in daylight. They match very well. The green version, there's more of a clash between the tones, so that's something to note. Case is also solid 316L grade stainless steel, which is hardened to 1000 HV. Bead blasted effect throughout. So bead blasted bezel, bead blasted case, bead blasted bracelet, bead blasted micro adjustment clasp. And the quality of the matte bead blasting to this piece on every facet is stellar. Make no mistake about it. This really is the same level of finishing as on a Sinn 857. The bead blasting to this piece is absolutely fantastic. No flaws in it whatsoever. It looks just stellar on every facet. So I really like the finishing of the matte bead blasting because it gives the piece a real tool watch aesthetic. Pierce slugs are beneficial, and they also give the piece a real tool watch aesthetic, and it does have quick release stainless steel spring bars which are beneficial, but the benefit of having pierce slugs is if you're fitting an alternative strap to it which doesn't have quick release stainless steel spring bars, you can of course depress the ends of the spring bars externally through the flanks of the case. The pierce slugs facilitate that, so that's excellent. In terms of the proportions of the case, nice curvature to the top of the pierced lugs. Longitudinal bead blasting is very well done, beautiful sheen to it, beautiful luster. Undercuts to the flanks have been deburred and chamfered very well, so therefore the bevels don't have any sharp edges on the undercuts. This enhances comfort level and feel good factor. What I like about it is this is low profile at only 12.3. Had they used the NH35A, which is the default option, this would have been 13 plus, and that would have diminished comfort level and feel good factor because it is a heavy piece with wrist presence, and of course 13 plus would exacerbate that. But low profile flanks, it's not thick and slab sided, so although it is a well proportioned piece, what I like about it is very low profile, although it does have heft. So beautiful bead blasting to the hardened 316L grade stainless steel. Let's check the bracelet in detail. So, female put-in links to the H-link bracelet, articulates freely, doesn't feel stiff or kink, that's the benefit. We do have some slight longitudinal, lateral, side-to-side, up and down play in every single direction, but it is okay. To put it into perspective, it's not sloppy. I like that it's not stiff or kink, it's not stiff or doesn't kink, but they could tighten up the tolerances, but it is good enough. H-link bracelet is matte bead blasted to perfection on the top side, underside and flanks. No sharp edges to the top edge or the low edge. Feels very comfortable, doesn't pull arm hairs, that's the benefit. H-links are correctly proportioned. Visually it looks exactly the same as the Sinn 857 H-link bracelet. And I'm pleased to see 1.2mm screw pins, 1.6mm screw pins used as an alternative to push pins, which is excellent. This tightens up the tolerances. So, articulates freely, doesn't feel stiff or kink, that's the benefit. but doesn't feel sloppy, doesn't have excess longitudinal, lateral, side to side or up and down play. This is fantastic. They've got the balance correct because it articulates freely, it flows nicely, it's a fluid bracelet, but it's not sloppy, doesn't rattle. They could tighten up the tolerances even more, but I think it is acceptable. Let's check the other side of continuity. Again, female pitted end link articulates freely, doesn't feel stiff or kink, that's the benefit. Does have some slight play, longitudinal, lateral, up and down, side to side play, but it is okay. They could tighten it up to refine it, but I like it's not stiff and kink. The articulation is good. I like the way the H-links, the end link in the H-link bracelet can pivot beneath the tips of the lug. So one gets the full benefit of a snug fit with the lug to lug of 48, which is the perfect lug to lug. Subjectively, I would normally be critical of the 20 to 18 taper. You'll know from my previous reviews, 20 to 16 is perfection personified for a 40mm head of the piece. Yes, I would apply that to this piece with a 40 head of the piece, but the head of the piece does have some heft to it. It does have meat, and therefore one could argue with an H-link bracelet 20 to 18 does balance it, and it does indeed balance the head of the piece very well, and I'll talk about that in the wrist shot, because this does have a long micro adjustment clasp, which is actually necessary, not because of the 10mm of on-the-fly adjustment, but because it actually needs the bulk, the heft of it, to balance what is a heavy piece. This hardened bezel, hardened case, it does add heft to the piece. It's not too thick and block-like at 12.3 thick, but the point is it is a heavy head of the piece for 40mm diameter. So, yes, I think it's acceptable to have 20 to 18. I would prefer 20 to 16, but this is subjective. So, bracelet is fantastic. Beautiful luster to the bead blasted effect to it. Let's look at the clasp in detail. So, matte bead blasted to the body, the flanks, the underside. No sharp edge to the undercuts to the flanks. Doesn't have sharp edges to the top edge or the low edge, which is excellent. Engraving is high definition. The bevels are matte bead blasted to the same standard as the body and the flanks. Correctly proportioned. Nice curvature for a 6 to 7 inch wrist and a 7 to 8. Corners have been deburred and chamfered very well. So bevels are well done. 2 button push triggers are heavily sprung loaded. Opens freely. Matte bead blasted internals rather than brushed satin finish, which is good. And what I like about it is it's nice and fine. And what I mean by that is the internal portions of the solid mill 316L grade stainless steel 1000 HV hardened steel, it's not too thick. They've milled it down so it's nice and slender, and this enhances comfort level and feel good factor. No sharp edge to the top edge or the low edge of the flanks, which is good. No sharp corners to the centre section. It's been deburred very well. Let's check the hinge pins. Left hand hinge pin articulates freely, doesn't feel stiff or kink, doesn't have excess play. Centre hinge pin articulates freely, doesn't feel stiff or kink, that's the benefit, doesn't have excess play. Finally, right hand hinge pin, which is actually a spring bar, articulates freely, doesn't feel stiff or kink, doesn't have excess play. Pleasant surprise. This is excellent. Left hand hinge pin, centre hinge pin, right hand hinge pin, interference friction fits. Build quality, quality control, materials and finishing are excellent. No sharp edges. And nice satin finish to the bead blasting. It's very well finished, looks good, feels good, and no sharp edge, doesn't scratch the wrist. Stellar. Micro adjustment clasp is very well executed. So the button push trigger, just bear with me, I'll get the camera to focus on it, has push engraved on the trigger, and it's heavily sprung loaded, so you can depress it with your index finger or thumb. And it's got a nice smooth ratcheting mechanism with 10mm on the fly adjustment. Nice, loud, audible clicks, positive indexing, feels good, feels reliable, feels robust. When it's on its minimum, nice tight tolerances because the bracelet, which is 18mm wide, is a nice fit inside the body. Doesn't feel sloppy, doesn't rattle, doesn't have too much play. I'm just going to check it when it's fully deployed. Again, on full extension, 10mm on the fly adjustment, not sloppy, doesn't rattle, tolerances are good. This is excellent. This is actually better and more beneficial than the clasp they're using on the Sinn 857, which is ironic. This is an homage to it, but this actually has a better clasp because it has micro adjustment, a ratcheting mechanism. The Sinn 857 doesn't. It has a flip lock clasp, but it doesn't have 2 button push triggers with micro adjustment like this. This is good. So I like it. Feels good. Sounds good. Operates well. Tolerances are good. Build quality is good. Finishing is good. No sharp edges. Very good. This is excellent for €230. This is an outstanding clasp. The finishing is very good. The bead blasting on it is fantastic. So I really like it. Let's look at the case back. Solid 316L grade stainless steel case back, which again is matte bead blasted effect. Now, again, to clarify, the case back is made from hardened 316L grade stainless steel with the same 1000 HV, 1000 hardness Vickers rating as the bezel, the head of the piece, the bracelet and the clasp. Every part of this watch, even the crown, is made from 1000 HV hardened 316L grade stainless steel. Stellar. Lovely matte finish to it. And around this circumference it's engraved with a specification. It details that it's anti-magnetic and 1000 HV, scratch resistant, water resistance is 20 bar, which is 200 meters, and it's automatic. Englemaan Text logo in the center, engraved with high definition engraving. The engraving is high definition and crisp, but it doesn't feel rough or sharp. The benefit of that is it feels smooth. It doesn't feel sharp against the wrist. It doesn't feel scratchy. Looks good, feels good. The matte finish is very well done. The bead blasting is flawless. And what I like about it above all else is how low profile it is. This is the benefit of this being powered by the PT5000 rather than the default option of the NH35A. Had they used the NH35A, it would have a deep bubble back case back, and this would be 13 plus as a result. But it's only 12.3, and that's because the PT5000 is a lower profile caliber and therefore needs less clearance between the inside of the case back and the rotor. And they fully optimised this. This is a very thin case back, very low profile, it's not deep and bubble back, and this reduces the thickness of this piece down to only 12.3 as a result, and it's very flat. So the benefit is it sits close to the wrist, and I'll show you this in the wrist shot. It's very snug fitting, feels smooth, and it's just very good looking. This is an example to other brands and other mid-tier brands of how to get case back finishing correct, because we have the Englemaan Text logo in the center, which looks good, and then around the circumference we have the specification engraved. Looks good, feels good, low profile, and the matte bead blasting is just fantastic. Milled slots are deburred and chamfered very well, no sharp edges. It's fantastic at this price point. So H-link end links are a good snug fit to the head of the piece, and quick release stainless steel spring bars is the correct choice. What we're looking at with this piece throughout is correct decision after correct decision after correct decision. Rather than using standard stainless steel spring bars, they've used quick release stainless steel spring bars. This is particularly beneficial when you have a matte bead blasted piece like this, because if this had standard stainless steel spring bars, to clarify, there's a risk you could slip off the spring bar with the spring bar tool and then scuff the matte bead blasted finishing to the head of the piece or the bracelet. Now, of course, one has to appreciate it is hardness rated to 1000 HV. It's more hard and scratch resistant than the standard 600 HV of 316L standard grade. But nonetheless, this means that there's no risk whatsoever of slipping off the spring bars with the spring bar tool. Quick release stainless steel spring bars make it easy to exchange the H-link bracelet for an alternative strap, and it's beneficial. So fantastic finishing. Undercuts to the flanks are deburred and chamfered very well with nice bevels. Tips of the lugs have bevels, so no sharp corners. Case finishing is fantastic on this piece. Right, so let's test the bezel and the screw down crown execution. 120 click unidirectional bezel, rather like a dive piece, but however, to remind you, this is an homage to the Sinn 857, which strictly speaking is meant to be a pilot's watch rather than a dive piece, but although it does have a dive style bezel with 60-minute ticks. So, inlaid with BGW9, it's ceramic bezel insert. What I like about it is the bezel insert has a matte finish, which actually looks like an aluminium bezel insert, but it's ceramic. And they've made the correct decision by not using a glossy enamel black finish to the ceramic, because that would clash with the matte finish of the dial. The matte tone of the ceramic matches the matte tone of the dial. If this had a glossy black enamel dial, then yes, I would say a glossy ceramic bezel insert would be appropriate, or a sapphire bezel insert. But the matte finish of ceramic matches matte dial, good continuity. So, scalloped bezel, which is bead blasted as per the case. 120 click unidirectional bezel. Feels even all the way through the 360 degrees of rotation. Doesn't get heavier or lighter. Feels smooth. Now, what I like about it is it has very heavy, loud, audible clicks. You can feel and hear the click spring engaging with every one of the 120 grooves. Feels solid, feels reliable and robust. And I really like the balance because it's medium resistance. It doesn't feel too heavy, doesn't feel too light. So to put it into perspective, it is lighter than a Seiko 5KX, which is firm, and much lighter than a Steinhardt Ocean 139, which you may be familiar with. In terms of resistance, it feels similar to a San Martin SN017G, which you may be familiar with. It's got that medium resistance, which is just right. Not too heavy, not too light. I like the feeling of it through the 360 degrees, the way it doesn't get tighter or looser, feels even, doesn't feel rough or gritty, feels smooth, but feels solid, heavy, loud, audible clicks, no lateral side-to-side play whatsoever, no back play whatsoever. It's fantastic. So let's just check the alignments. Really good feeling to it. I love the sound of the loud, audible clicks. Positive. Very satisfying to use. It sounds good and feels good. One more click. Perfect. The triangle, which is fully inlaid with BGW9, perfectly aligns with the 12 o'clock index on the dial, 12 o'clock mark or 60-minute mark on the chaptering, and the 12 o'clock Arabic numerals on the dial. Perfect alignment, 10 out of 10. This is an example to other low-tier Chinese brands of how to get it correct. Feels smooth all the way through the 360 degrees of rotation, doesn't feel tighter or lighter, and also no lateral side-to-side play, no back play, perfect alignment. This is stellar bezel execution at €230. It's very satisfying. So let's test the screw down crown execution. 200 meters of hermetic seal, coin edge finished, domed cap which is matte, be blasted. Now subjectively one could be critical. I'd like to see this signed. Now, I appreciate Englemaan is a long brand logo, as you can see on the clasp. Now, of course, they're not going to be able to engrave Englemaan or emboss Englemaan across the crown. It's far too small in diameter. So one has to be magnanimous. But what they could do, because they don't have a brand emblem, is they could simply use the Englemaan E. So, to remind you, if you look here at the cursive fonts, this is very aesthetically pleasing. I like the fonts used. But if you look at the Englemaan E, this would be suitable for embossing or alternatively engraving on the crown because it would fit on the diameter. So as an alternative to an emblem, because they don't have a brand emblem for Englemaan, I think an E in the same cursive font, capital E, embossed or engraved on this matte bee-blasted crown would enhance the piece. But one has to be magnanimous because this has very strong specification. It is loaded for €230 because we've got 1000 HV hardness 316L grade stainless steel, BGW9, which is strong specification, 200 meters, and of course it's anti-magnetic to 1000 Gauss. So the specification is loaded. One has to be magnanimous and expect some production cost cutting measures in order to make this viable to retail at only 230 plus the genuine leather watch roll. But I'd like to see it signed with an E. Let's test the execution. Silky smooth. This is sublime screw down crown execution. Perfect interface between the internal thread of the stainless steel crown and the external thread of the stainless steel crown tube. Minimal number of turns required to unscrew the crown. So when it's fully unscrewed, we're now in the manual wind position, and one can manually wind the HK Precision Technology Caliber PT5000 automatic, which is a clone of the ETA 2824-2. Now, to clarify something, the PT5000 isn't as smooth to manually wind as the ETA 2824-2, which it is a clone of, the Solite SW200-1 or the Soprod P024. It does feel smooth on this one, but there is a difference because it's the luck of the draw whether one gets a good or bad PT5000. My opinion has changed over the years. Early versions of the PT5000, I was very impressed with it, with the PT5000 attaining chronometer certification at an observatory in Germany. And of course it was a very accurate movement and I was very impressed. But over the years I read more and more reports of roughness in the manual winding. It felt rough and gritty, and then later I found out what the reason for that is. The PT5000 suffers with a problem with inconsistency in terms of lubrication. Some PT5000s are lubricated correctly and therefore the reliability is good. The manual winding feels smooth. They don't fail. However, some PT5000s are not lubricated correctly, therefore they'll feel rough. They feel rough and gritty when you manually wind, and therefore they fail. So reliability is variable, that's the point. This one is good. I can immediately tell it has been lubricated correctly by HK Precision Technology because when you unscrew the crown into the manual wind position and you're manually winding a PT5000, if it immediately feels rough or gritty or too stiff, that indicates the gears in the movements have not been lubricated correctly and the jewels have not been lubricated correctly. When it feels smooth, rather like a SW200-1, yes, then it has been lubricated correctly. This one has. I can feel the smoothness. It still feels slightly stiffer and it still doesn't feel as smooth as an ETA 2824-2, an SW200-1 or a P024 respectively. That's something to be aware of, but that's just the characteristic of the PT5000. This one is a good one. So, feels smooth to manually wind. Not as smooth as an SW200-1, but that's just the way it is. Pulling it out to the first click position is the quick set date complication. Sorry, that's the time setting. Just bear with me and I'll get it. There we are. So when you rotate the coin edge crown clockwise, if you look at the date complication at 4 o'clock, you can see it clicks over with a nice positive click. Sensation feels exactly the same as the SW200-1. No discernible difference. Feels lighter than an NH35A, which you'll all be familiar with. That has a heavy, solid click, which I actually like. This feels exactly the same. No discernible difference. What I like about it is the alignment. The white Abric numerals contrast well, date's window is correctly proportioned, but the single and the double Abric numerals aren't too far to the left or the right of the date window. They're bang on the centre, so they've got the alignment correct. They've made the correct decision by citing the date complication at 4 versus 3 or 6, which are the default positions, because then they would have to delete the 3 or the 6 Arabic numerals. And of course, this is a homage to the Sinn 857, which has the same 12, 9, 6 and 3 iconic dial layout. So, looks good. Easy to read, clicks over with a nice positive click, feels reliable, feels robust. Pulling it out to the second click position hacks the movement. So it's possible to set the time precisely to the second with the caliber PT5000. We're now in the time setting position. Feels smooth. Again, doesn't feel too stiff, doesn't feel rough or gritty. This indicates this is correctly lubricated, which is the positive. You can always tell when a PT5000 doesn't have correct lubrication. Manual winding feels rough and gritty, but then when you're in the time setting position, the meshing of the gearing will feel tight. It will feel stiff, and that's caused by the additional friction of lack of lubrication in the jewels, lack of lubrication in the winding gears. When it's lubricated correctly, it feels just as smooth as an SW200-1, and this does feel like that. There's no discernible difference. You cannot tell the difference. So, minimal backplay. When you rotate the coin edge crown, there's an almost immediate response to the arrow hand, and as you can see, one doesn't have to take up a lot of slack. Feels good, feels tight and reliable. Pushing it back in, it's got a nice positive click, and that restarts the second hand. You can see it begins to sweep around that characteristic smooth 4Hz sweep because it runs at 28,800 vibrations per hour versus the stutter or judder of a 3Hz sweep of an NH35A, for example, which runs at 21,600 vibration per hour. So nice smooth sweep to it. I like the 4Hz sweep versus 3Hz stutter or judder. Let's test screwing the crown back down. Instant thread pickup. There's a perfect interface between the internal thread of the stainless steel crown and the external thread of the stainless steel crown tube. However, something to note, and it is a characteristic of the PT5000. I've reviewed a plethora of watches over the last 5 years with the PT5000, and I've become accustomed to how they feel. With the PT5000, they do screw down with a silky smooth crown just the same as an SW200-1, but however, they're more heavily sprung loaded on the winding stem. So what I mean is, when you push the crown back into the movement to screw down the crown, you have to push in the crown and the winding stem into the movement with more force. They're not as light. So with an ETA 284-2 and with an SW200-1 and the P024 respectively, they feel lighter. The winding stem isn't as heavily sprung loaded. With the PT5000, they always feel heavier. You've really got to push in the crown harder to get the winding stem to enter the movement, and then you can get the threads to pick up. That's something you just need to become accustomed to, and it is just a characteristic of the PT5000. Subjectively, I'm not going to be critical of it. It's not detrimental, but you just have to get used to it. It takes more force than an NH35A or a 9015 or an SW200-1. That's what I'm talking about in comparison. But it's okay once you become used to it. You just have to get used to pushing it in harder. But this one works very well. It's well lubricated. Manual winding works well. Hacking works well. Quick set date complication works well. Setting the time works well. It's a good PT5000. Right, so I'll give you a wrist shot and you can see how it fits on my 8-inch wrist. So just bear with me. I'm going to remove my Concord 40. So let's put it on maximum extension. Right, so I haven't sized the bracelet, and I'm pleased to report this does come with a very long bracelet. This would fit up to a 9-inch plus wrist size. I can easily slide 2 fingers beneath the bracelet and clasps at all times. So this is particularly beneficial if you have a very large wrist size of 9 inches plus. You can see very long bracelet. There are enough removable links on the 6 o'clock and the 12 o'clock side to size this down to a minimum 6-inch wrist size up to 9-inch plus. Now, I'm actually going to move it to its minimum on the micro adjustment because even on my large 8-inch wrist, it's very long. And again, just to clarify, even with it's on its minimum of the 10mm on the fly adjustment, I can still slide 2 fingers beneath the bracelet and clasp. So very long bracelet, and of course that does increase the heft to a very heavy 177 grams. I'm not going to be critical of it because even I would remove 4 to 6 links from this H-link bracelet for my large 8-inch wrist. That would reduce it to circa 150 grams, which is the sweet spot. Needless to say, if you have a 6 to 7-inch wrist, you're going to be removing 6 to 8 links. If you have a 7 to 8-inch wrist, you're going to be removing 4 to 6 links, or maybe 6 links plus. So, the point I'm making is plenty of links for a large wrist, but you can get it down to a 6. So that's good. Wrist presence is very satisfying. 40mm is the correct choice, rather like a Sinn 857. Very similar proportions to the 857, which this is an homage to. What I like about it is perfect lug to lug. 48 exactly. This is the perfect sweet spot for all wrist sizes. I often referred to this in my previous reviews. 48mm lug to lug is the perfect sweet spot because it fits 6 to 7-inch wrists and 7 to 8-inch wrists to perfection. So they've got the proportions of this piece done to perfection. 40.3 is just a fraction above the 40 perfect case diameter. 48 is the perfect lug to lug. 20 is the perfect lug width for a 40 case. And as I've detailed, what I like about this above all else, it's low profile. 12.3 is very impressive for a 200-meter dive piece, and they've made the correct decision by using a flat sapphire crystal versus a double dome sapphire crystal or box top hat crystal. For example, had they used a box top hat crystal, that would add 2mm of thickness to the head of the piece. This would be 13 plus. But this is only 12.3. Which is good because it enhances comfort level and feel good factor. So it does wear with wrist presence, which is very satisfying, but it doesn't feel like a thick block slab of 316L grade stainless steel. Curvature of the lugs is very good. It wraps around the wrist very well. I like the curvature of the top of the lugs and the underside. Undercuts to the flanks have a nice curvature, and as you can see, what I like about it is the low profile flat case back rather than being a deep bubble back case back. Had they used the NH35A, this would have to use a deeper bubble back case back. It would be 13 thick plus, and also it would sit up on the wrist like this with a gap underneath the undercuts to the flanks and the tip of the lugs. This is very good. Comfort level is 10 out of 10. Feel good factor is 10 out of 10. Of course, it does feel like it does have too much heft because it does have a very long bracelet at 177 grams, but I'm absolutely confident. If I remove 6 to 8 links from this bracelet, it would be 150 grams or below, and of course then the perfect sweet spot. 150 grams is the perfect sweet spot for a 40mm head of the piece. Legibility is 10 out of 10 due to the large Arabic numerals 12, 9, 6 and 3. Date complication is clearly legible at 4 o'clock. Sword hands are clearly legible, contrasts very well with the matte black dial. Minute ticks on the bezel, Arabic numerals and triangle are clearly legible. This is a very good homage to the 857. It looks very similar to it. I really like the matte's finish to the bead blasting, to the bezel, the head of the piece, the bracelets. It's got a nice sheen to it, which is metallic, and there's no discernible difference. This is hardened 1000 HV 316L grade stainless steel, but visually it looks exactly the same as standard grade 316L grade, which has been matte bead blasted. So there's no discernible difference. You could not tell this is hardness rated to 1000 HV versus the standard 600 HV. It has the same tone. Beautiful luster to the clasp. As you can see, nice satin sheen to it. I think more brands should use matte bead blasting as an opposed finish to mirror polishing or alternatively longitudinal brush satin finishing, because matte bead blasting gives the piece a real tool watch aesthetic, and one doesn't get that with brush satin finishing, and it just looks fantastic. It's got this nice metallic sheen which is like silver, but it's not as shiny as mirror polishing, and it's absolutely flawless. The bead blasting on the clasp, the bracelets, the head of the piece, the bezel is all done to the same flawless standard. No flaws in it whatsoever. H-link bracelet makes a refreshing change from the default option of a Jubilee style bracelet, Oyster style bracelet, flat link bracelet or beads of rice bracelet that we're all familiar with. H-link bracelets really do look very aesthetically pleasing. What I like about the clasp is it's not too bulky. It's got nice curvature. So the curvature is good if you have a 6 to 7 inch smaller wrist, and also if you have a larger 7 to 8 inch wrist. It's relatively low profile. Now one has to be magnanimous. It does have an 18mm end to the bracelet, so it is slightly wider than a 16, but it's not too wide, it's not too thick, it's not too long. So if you have a smaller 6 to 7 inch wrist, it's not going to overhang on your wrist. And on a larger wrist, of course, it's perfect. The curvature on the underside is good, curvature on the top side is good, and I love the luster of it. Just very good looking. Works well, looks good, feels good, no sharp edges. Bracelet doesn't pull arm hairs when it moves up and down the wrist. Flows nicely. It's a very fluid H-link bracelet. End links are correctly proportioned. What I like about it is the pivoting of the female pitted end links. They've made the correct decision by not using male end links because you can see the benefits. The end link in the H-link bracelet can pivot beneath the tips of the lug, so it pulls very snug to the wrist. Comfort level and feel good factor of this piece are fantastic. So not only does it look good, it also feels good because it's low profile at 12.3. H-link bracelet articulates freely, so it doesn't feel stiff. It just looks fantastic. It's a really good looking piece. The matte dial is the correct choice versus a glossy dial because the legibility is good. When you look at the crystal straight on, it actually looks invisible. The AR coating is very high quality. Clarity of the crystal is good, legibility is good, easy to read the time, easy to read the dates, and I like everything about it. Just a fantastic piece. And although it's 177 with this bracelet, which is very long, 150, this will feel fantastic. So it's good for 6 to 7 inch wrists. It's good for 7 to 8. And needless to say, at 12.3, it will easily slip underneath the shirt cuff if you wear business shirts, because anything below 13 is the sweet spot. This is 0.7, it's well below, nearly a millimetre below the 13 sweet spot. So it's a very flat and low profile piece at 40mm. The proportions are fantastic. 48, bang on. It's just the perfect lug to lug for all wrist sizes. Right, so let's do a Lume test. Now I'm just going to put back on my Concord 40 and then we'll continue. So, as I've detailed, the Wraith is available with 2 versions. Green C3 or alternatively blue BGW9. This is the blue BGW9 version. So as always, I'm going to use my 100 UV LED torch to charge it up to the absolute peak. Right, so that's now fully charged, and as you can see, this has not disappointed. This has actually exceeded my expectations. This is stellar, make no mistake about it. We're not looking at low tier level performance between 0 and 500 euro. This is mid tier level. This is 500 to 5,000 euro quality BGW9. One of the best engraved ceramic bezel inserts that's fully lumed I have ever seen, regardless of price point. This is a full 6 layers of BGW9 on the ceramic bezel insert. A full 6 layers on the printed Arabic numerals 12, 9, 6 and 3, the printed indices and the sword handset. This is fantastic colour tone. Perfect colour tone match in daylight. Looks white on the bezel, white on the dial, white on the hands. Perfect colour tone match in the dark. Blue tone is the same. Every aspect of it. The bezel minute ticks, the Arabic numerals on the bezel, the Arabic numerals on the dial, the indices, the handsets. Even the second hand is fully loomed. Even 6 layers. This is stellar. So I'm just going to charge it up once again. Perfect colour tone match. This is an even 6 layers. Now this is an example to other low tier Chinese brands and even mid tier brands and mid-tier microbrands between 500 and 5,000 euro. One has to realise this is 230. We're not looking at a mid-tier piece between 500 and 5,000 as per the Sinn 857, which this is an homage to. This is just incredible. This is some of the best BGW9 Superlume Nova I've seen in the low tier, between 0 and 500. If this piece were 500 euro on the cusp of when low tier changes to mid-tier, then I would say, well, it's nothing special because one does see this at 500 euro plus. But at 230 euro, this is fantastic performance. It's stellar. The potency of the exciter cannot be improved upon. This is pure BGW9. Nice light blue tone to it. The triangle has been well infilled. It's correctly proportioned as an alternative to a Lume pip. The ceramic bezel insert has clearly been engraved very deeply to take a full 6 layers. The legibility is stellar. The functionality is good. Good orientation to the dial. This is the benefit, and I've just noticed something else, and I'm going to move the minute hand out of the way because I want you to show you it in detail, because the minute hand's obscuring the date. I wasn't aware of this until the Lume test. They've even fully loomed the Arabic numerals on the date complication. I've never seen this at 230 euro. This is stellar. The black dates wheel, they've printed the single and the double Arabic numerals in white, but they've actually used BGW9 rather than white's paint. Just bear with me, I'm just screwing the crown back down and then I'll charge it again and show you. So they've actually fully loomed the dates. This is fantastic at 230 euro. These are the kind of details one expects to see on mid-tier and high-tier pieces, not on low-tier pieces. I've never seen a fully loomed date complication at 230 euro. There, look at it now, fully charged. The Arabic numerals on the dates are fully loomed. They didn't just print them white in order to reduce production costs per piece and maximise profit margin per piece. They have loomed the dates, Arabic numerals. Fantastic. This is stellar. I really want to give due credit to Englemaan here because the potency of the exciter is stellar. The application is even. This is a full maximum 6 layers, which is the industry standard for good reason. You can clearly read which is the minute hand, which is the hour hand, which is the second hand. Date complication can be read in the dark, and the minute ticks on the bezel are clearly legible, as are the Arabic numerals. This is fantastic. This is some of the very best BGW9 I've seen, regardless of price point. And at 230, this is a credit to Englemaan. It's an example to other mid-tier brands and mid-tier micro brands of how to get it correct. It's an example to low-tier brands and low-tier micro brands of how to get it correct. Just stellar performance. Right, so let's discuss the movement use because it's one of my favourite aspects of the piece. So this is powered by the HK Precision Technology Calibre PT5000 automatic. Now, the PT5000 has been in service since 2015, so 10 years at this stage in 2025. It's a clone of the ETA 284-2. The architecture is identical. It has the same 25 joules, unlike the SW200-1, which has 26 joules respectively. So, same architecture. Now, as I've detailed, my opinion has changed. Early versions of the PT5000 impressed me because they were chronometer certified at an observatory in Germany. Now, the reason why they were certified in Germany is because they could not be certified by COSC or METAS in Switzerland. COSC or METAS only certify Swiss calibers, and of course the PT5000 is made in China, therefore they would not certify it as a chronometer. So HK Precision Technology took samples of the PT5000 to an observatory in Germany, which certifies calibers to chronometer accuracy in Germany. And it did attain chronometer accuracy when regulated in 5 positions, and chronometer accuracy is -4 to +6. That really impressed me when I found that out in 2020. But 5 years later, over the years, I began to read more and more reliability issues reported, and so my initial feeling was the PT5000 was a credible alternative or a good clone of the ETA 284-2 like the SW200-1 is and the P024 is. But I began to see more and more reliability issues reported, and then I realised the common reason why they have problems is the lubrication. The lack of lubrication on the jewels and the winding gears causes them to seize up. The other problem is, as I've detailed, with manual winding, they feel rough or gritty, they feel stiff, and that's caused by lack of lubrication. What it comes down to is this: it's the luck of the draw whether one gets a good or bad one. Even today, in 2025, HK Precision Technologies can make very good PT5000s and they can make unreliable PT5000s, and it really is the luck of the draw. If one gets a good one which is correctly lubricated, they can easily run to chronometer accuracy of -4 to +6, and they are very reliable as an SW200-1 standard grade. However, if one gets one which is badly lubricated, they can fail in a matter of weeks or months. And the warning sign is the manual winding feels rough or gritty, and when you're setting the time, they feel very stiff, like the gears are binding. And then, of course, they fail because of the lack of lubrication. The gears seize up, the jewels seize up. So it's the luck of the draw. Now, this is a good one. I can tell by feeling it. It has been well lubricated, and of course, the accuracy mirrors that. So, specification is 25 joules. It runs at 28,800 vibrations per hour and a frequency of 4 Hz. Hand winding and hacking are used for complications, and they work well, as I've demonstrated. Quickset date complication works well, as I've demonstrated. 38-hour power reserve is perfectly acceptable. Stated accuracy of the PT5000 is ±12 seconds per day. So rather wide accuracy range. However, I want to give due credit to Englemaan because they're regulating the PT5000s they're using in 5 positions to better than ±12. This one is running consistently at +5 seconds per day, which is actually chronometer accurate. So to remind you, chronometer accuracy is -4 to +6. +5 is actually within chronometer limits. So +5 from a PT5000 is stellar accuracy. I like it. This one has been well regulated. Accuracy is good. Build quality, quality control, materials and finishing are equal to the SW200-1 standard grade, or the ETA 2824-2 standard grade, or the P024 standard grade. Reliability is not as good as the SW200-1. That's what I want you to be mindful of. It really is the luck of the draw if you get a good or bad one. This one is a good one, so I'm going to base my evaluation of this piece upon that. So, good choice at this price point. Now, subjectively, I'd like to see one change with this piece. I'd like to see Englemaan upgrade this to a Miyota 9015 because the reliability is better. It is as accurate or better accuracy than a PT5000. I appreciate the SW200-1 isn't going to be viable at this price point of €230. They would need to increase the retail price above 230 to use the 9015. It's more expensive because it's made in Japan versus China, but it would be as low profile. It's a thin caliber. This piece would still only be 12.3, but the 9015 is a premium 9000 series caliber made by Miyota in Japan. It's better, and the reason why I like it above the PT5000 is purely just down to reliability. It's consistent. So I'd like to see the same version of this piece made with a V2, upgraded to the Miyota caliber 9015. That's the only change I'd like to see made, but the PT5000 is good in this one. So last I'll summarise the piece. What do I think of it overall? Well, when I'm considering reviewing a watch on my channel, the watch meets two criteria. It should be both excellent quality and excellent value at the respective price point. So, low tier piece, price point is $270, which is €230. Yes, I'm going to declare it excellent quality, and yes, I'm going to declare it excellent value. This is absolutely loaded with specification. What we're looking at is a heavy hitter. 1000 HV, 1000 hardness Vickers, hardened 316L grade stainless steel used throughout, fully justifies the price point. Anti-magnetic to 1000 Gauss, fully justifies the price point. Full 6 layers of BGW9 on the bezel, the dial, the hands, even on the date complication, which is something I've never seen before at €230. Fully justifies the price point. H-link bracelet is stellar, bead blasting is stellar, micro adjustment clasp with ratcheting mechanism is stellar. This is a fantastic piece. At €230, it is the ultimate Sinn 857 Homage. It cannot be beaten. Anti-magnetic, scratch resistant, 6 layers of BGW9, PT5000, and it's only 12.3mm thick. Fantastic. There is only one change I'd like to see, and that's upgraded to the 9015, but other than that, it's a stellar piece. So I'm going to declare it a champagne watch for lemonade money. I hope you've enjoyed my review of the Englemaan Wraith. Please feel free to post your own comments below the video. Thank you for watching.